Set. 4, 3, 1.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday Morning Quarterback. Today, we are 5 pastors who love ministry, leadership, and not the Carolina Panthers.
The man was ready, bro.
Hey, look at this. Adam, how do you feel about your Panthers right now?
Oh, man.
John,
Dude.
can you put some words to this, John? You claim the Panthers, too.
Man, it's tough to watch the quarterback just not mature. That's the words. That is the word.
Quarterback purgatory. But, Dad, you're not in quarterback purgatory anymore because Dak got a deal. How you feel about it?
I'm feeling pretty good. I think our team is set and ready to roll.
Man, we are rolling. And then Paul's team, all of Paul's teams are winning right now. Paul, you doing good down there in North Georgia, bro?
Yes, sir. And we are. Good weekend. Little drama off the field. Good drama on the field. But, hey, we got wins on both sides.
Yep. There
sure.
you go. Well, hey, we are going to start off with our sports segment. We're going to highlight the NFL weekend. We're going to highlight the college weekend, and then we're going to do a pick'em here in a little bit for next week's NFL slate. And then in our ministry and leadership spot, we're going to talk about how important it is for pastors to maintain a voice of truth behind the pulpit while avoiding all of the other temptations. So if you're listening and you want to skip on past that, that is fine too. But let's start off, Dad, with football weekend. We're going to talk NFL first. When we can just take it all around the NFL, all around the horn, Dad, what jumped out at you? What caught your eye?
The Cowboys caught my eye.
God,
I thought they looked good. They went to the Browns. That was a beat-up team. Everybody else, and we beat them up. And so I'll just leave it at that. I'll just leave it at that. I thought they looked good.
Is it true that
I thought they looked crisp?
Dak is the highest paid NFL player? Like,
Yeah,
is that real life?
Wow.
He's a great quarterback.
How does that happen? You can't think that's a great idea.
If you don't have a great quarterback, you end up like the Carolina Panthers, who have no hope for the season.
I agree,
So-
but I great quarterbacks is not where I put Dak. That's what I'm
Great regular season quarterback.
Dallas
Great
is
regular
1-0.
season.
Carolina is 0-1. I'm happy. I'm happy. Hey, but other than that, I thought it was a great weekend of football, great NFL games. I'm excited for the Lions. I'm excited for the Carolina Panthers. I think that they're going to win a game this year. I think the Rams look good. A lot of good parity. A lot of good young stars. It was fun to watch some of these freshmen come out and they realize, hey, this is the NFL, this isn't college. So there's a lot of great storylines this year so far.
Yep. John, what did you think? What caught your eye yesterday?
I watched the Bengals fumble the bag. I said at the beginning, I think we're walking towards maybe the possibility of a plug being pulled there, which is unfortunate because I really had some high hopes for Burrow and maybe put together. It's just not been very pretty. And in addition to that, you watch the Panthers. It was tragic. It was tough to watch the game. I was back and forth in that, but it is what it is.
Adam, what jumped out at you, caught your eye?
Do you know what it feels like to root for a franchise for 30 years since their inception, and they have never had back-to-back winning seasons? And I just can't get over the fact that somehow, after last year is like an all-time NFL worst season, somehow we looked worse yesterday. And Panthers fans are just spinning our wheels right now. Like it's bad. And it almost makes me like not even want to talk about football, to be honest with you. Like I almost want to fast from NFL football for a year. But let me mention this, and it's going to sound like ancient news now because this was the NFL kickoff game, the season opener. You know, we all saw what happened, and it's not that it's like breaking news or that it's a shock to anyone. Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback of our era. The Chiefs are still the legitimate contenders to.
They look good.
And Lamar Jackson still hasn't made it happen. Now, granted, he played a great game, but man, there's the greats, the all-time greats, and the Mount Rushmore. And Mahomes is up there on that Mount Rushmore already, and we're just living in this moment. So,
Yep. Very reminiscent to the MJ days. Let me just roll through the dock of games. It was all over the place. So Falcons laid an egg, really disappointed with that highfalutin offense. And Pittsburgh picked up a win, which good for them because their schedule gets real tough. Buffalo was losing early, big. But they kind of came on late. Josh Allen tweaked his hand. I enjoyed watching the Chicago Bears because I wanted to see how Caleb would do. And, man, he had a rough day at the office. I don't know if y'all saw Will Levis basically gave that game away for Tennessee, who dominated the game all day. Obviously, Cincinnati, that was the upset of the day. I don't think anybody saw Gerard Mayo getting his first win. Houston and Indianapolis. Dad, last week we talked about who was going to take that division. I was on the Indy side. They were on the Houston side, and so that game was pretty tight down to the wire. Paul, I'll hand it off to you here in a second, but Jacksonville, man, they had that early hold of the game, and then they lost it late. We talked about New Orleans. Man, the Giants just looked like trash, kind of like the Panthers, no offense. Chargers got that first win. Dallas, Tampa Bay, Baker, nothing, no shockers there. So it was an interesting day across the NFL landscape. Paul, what was your impression of your Miami Dolphins?
He's left the building.
Oh,
he might have got arrested. I don't know.
I thought he was gonna swoop in like Adam swooped in with his Miami, his U stuff or something.
Nah, he doesn't talk about them. That was a tough game to watch either way. So
Go ahead, Dad.
I was gonna say, what did y'all think about that Cincinnati game? Did anybody see that coming? I mean, I did not see. I thought Burrow and the Bengals were going to have a breakout game to put Kansas City on notice, and man, they got mollywopped. And the other game I thought was really interesting is, and like you said, Adam, Kansas City looked stout. I mean, their offense, was with a weak part of their game last year. They looked like they picked it up, and that defense hadn't missed a beat. So, I mean, if you ask me right now who I think the Super Bowl favorites are, I have to say it, and I don't want to, but I think it's Kansas City Chiefs once again. They look good, man.
John,
and
would you
get better?
Just to deep dive more into Panthers depression. It's interesting watching Baker Mayfield throw 4 touchdowns and secure a win. Remember, he went to the playoffs last year, and didn't they win a game in the playoffs too?
Yeah.
And then Sam Darnold's up in Minnesota, leading Minnesota to a win somehow. And man, we're just sitting here but week 1 in the NFL, it's always weird. Like always upsets. Cincinnati, they've got Chase sitting out, still. And I heard that Higgins too. I don't think he played. Did he play?
Chase played.
Yeah, they played. They all played.
Okay.
Yeah, he played, but he hadn't got any reps all week too. Yeah, T. Higgins sat out.
Okay.
Yeah, remember the Bengals lost last year, the first week. So
they always start slow though. Every year it's like 1-3. I feel like we had a conversation last year. It was like if they lose, they go 0-3. And I think they were playing the Chiefs. Paul, we set you up just to talk about your Dolphins. I didn't see that you had stepped away because of your fire alarm, maybe. What did you think about your Dolphins, Paul?
It was good. I mean, they started off flat, I think, which is kind of hard to watch because you had the number 1 offense in the season last year. So you already are going in with high expectations of just seeing a lot of wonderful dynamics going on. But all that to say, I mean, eventually they turned it on. They had some big plays, here and there, but otherwise, I mean, it was a good start. I think it was just kind of flat as they started off for a home opener. Lots of penalties, which was kind of hard to watch at the beginning of the game. But otherwise, I think we're settled in with the offense that we do have, which is good. Defensively, I think there can be some improvements here and there. I think, but otherwise, I mean, it's good to start off the season the home opener win, which is great. So we'll see. I mean, they've got a uphill battle nonetheless because conference is going to be tough. I do like the fact that maybe we have Josh Allen with a little bit of a tweak there in the arm, so like that way it can have a little back end in there for Miami. That's always a helpful thing, when we play the Bills. But otherwise, it's good to have a good conference win in the home opener.
Yep.
Let me ask y'all something real quick because because I often do threaten to change my team in fandom, I did turn on the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday out of interest to see what was going to happen with Russell Wilson. And I turned the TV on and I said, "Where's Russell Wilson?" And apparently he had some lingering injury. And so Fields got the nod. Let's think about this, guys. Their defense looked great. What if Fields leads them and rattles off? I don't know. Maybe they start the season 4-1 or 5-0. What becomes of Russell Wilson? Maybe a Carolina Panther, but I just think that's a fascinating story. If Wilson can't get healthy in the next week or two, he might lose that chance.
Why don't you just become a Dolphins fan? I don't understand.
Adam, I don't know if you've seen their schedule, but it is brutal. I mean, I want to say 80% of their schedule is like playoff teams. So I don't know. That's an interesting thing. Okay, the one that everybody's been talking about, I'll just throw this out there. Deshaun Watson. His line was not helping him, but, man, looks like he just forgot to play quarterback. I mean, there was times where it's fourth down, he's scrambling, doesn't even throw the ball. And so that might be looking like the worst trade in NFL history and worst contract ever, too. Hey, let me preview some of these matchups coming into next week, and then we can kind of do a pick 'em if anybody wants to highlight a specific game. We got Chicago at Houston. We got Cincinnati at Kansas City. Got Pittsburgh at Denver. You were just talking about that one. You got the Chargers playing Carolina, San Francisco, Minnesota. You got Tampa Bay at Detroit, and you got New Orleans at Dallas. One that I'm circling is Sunday Night Football. You're going to see the two young quarterbacks. You're going to see the quarterback from Houston, and then you're going to see the number one pick going head-to-head. And I want to see how he plays in the bright lights. He looked like a total rookie yesterday, and he's going to have some games where he's struggling. But I think he'll put a few wow moments out there. What games are you guys looking at?
Is that the Sunday night game?
Sunday night game, Bears at Texans.
I'm not watching that.
All the quarterbacks that Adam's franchise could have had.
Hey, Thursday night football is going to be good. I mean,
Thursday night is going to be good.
Who is Thursday night? Dolphins at who?
Dolphins
Allen
Bills,
got
man.
cleared to play and practice.
Oh, he did.
Oh, wow.
He got cleared to play and practice. So short week. I got the Bills by 7.
Ooh.
Oh,
I didn't see enough out of the Fins this week. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dad,
I get that. I get
Dad,
that.
what game jumped out at you? Who you picking?
Oh, it's easy. I want to see Kansas City and Cincinnati. I want to see
that'll be a good game.
Cincinnati can right the ship. Even if they play down to the wire, can they right the ship? Because at the end of the day, I think we all believe that Cincinnati is going to be there, but can they contend? I don't think Burrow is just playing for just to get in the playoffs. He is a championship caliber player, and they can right the ship and set the new tone and put everybody on blast to notice if they can go and beat Kansas City. But if Kansas City mollywops them, I tell you what, they are putting everybody on blast. And man, they look like a tough, complete team with experience. This could be a special year for the Chiefs.
Yeah, man. They better come in ready to play though, because to beat Pat Mahomes at Arrowhead, that's going to be a tall order for the Bengals, bro.
Man,
they're also, if you're looking at the games, I think you're going to just be fun to watch. The Bucks against the Lions is going to be a really fun game. I think it's going to be a bit of a shootout. I think it's going to be a lot of scoring opportunities. I think it'll also be the chance where you can weigh and measure Baker and see if this is going to be a consistent year for him or not.
Yep.
John, I think you're right. John. I really think that this can be a make 'em break 'em year for Tampa to see if they are a legit contender, because they had a great season, and did they elevate? And I think we'll be able to see that with next week's game.
Adam?
Yeah, that's a playoff rematch, I believe. And I think Baker, when they played against the Lions, he played very well. So that'll be interesting to see. But in all seriousness, I probably will be watching the Bears versus the Texans. I'm always interested to see what Young, and with Caleb Williams being a rookie, I've got this sneaky suspicion that yesterday, I think he threw for he didn't throw for a lot, and they didn't score a touchdown, but they won. I've got this feeling like he's going to light it up, and they're going to let him toss the ball around because they know that that's what the world is seeing, and that's what his teammates want to see. Can this guy get out here and throw it around, even if he gets out and throws 2 or 3 picks? We just want to know this guy can get out there and sling the thing. But I think if CJ Stroud can come away with a 2-touchdown win in that game, he's really saying, this is mine, because he beat Anthony Richardson in the opener last week.
And Anthony was slinging the ball all over the place, man. He had that guy is talented, Anthony Richardson. Even though they lost, that was a close game.
Did you see that one throw?
Yes.
Yeah.
That moon ball. Another interesting game is Monday night. You got the Falcons at the Eagles. Obviously, a lot of people had a lot of hype around the Falcons of winning the division. And then even though the Eagles won, Jalen looked bad. I mean, he's starting to look like that Super Bowl year was an outlier. Now, Giants are kicking themselves because Saquon looked really good. And so I'm not sure what Eagles team we're going to get this year. And then Joe Burrow, man, everybody's talking about Dak having pressure, Lamar having pressure. You're starting to hear some people say that if Joe Burrow doesn't have a good year, or if he gets injured again, that they need to start thinking about a new plan there in Cincinnati. So I think he's got a lot of pressure, which I don't understand why Cincinnati's dragging their feet on Chase, because they're tied together. So that one will be a huge game. I wouldn't be shocked if Cincinnati rolled up in there and pulled the upset with old Slim Shady look. But we'll see. Hey, Adam, let's shift gears to Texas. What did you think about your inherited Texas Longhorns rolling on the Wolverines?
Bro, big game.
That was a good game. I think most people who really keep an eye on college football could see that coming. You don't lose Jim Harbaugh, one of the greatest. I think he's one of the greatest football coaches of all time, and a lot of their staff, and of course a lot of their starters, to the NFL, and just come in ready to play against the Texas Longhorns, who, by the way, were in the playoff last year and came very close to being in the national championship. Sarkisian's got that team running, and it's neat to see because, Texas is what they are, and they want eyes on them. They want the pressure. It's like a lot of other programs and traditions. If you don't win immediately, you're out. And Sarkisian's come in, and he's doing a great job. Let me throw out another one of my orange teams, Tennessee.
Bro, yes.
Boy, NC State is definitely not Alabama. They're definitely not Georgia, but they are a good football program. They've been in the top 25. Really, it feels like the last 5 or 6 years consistently. And boy, they drug them in Charlotte, neutral site, but in NC State's home territory. And they put up 50, and the quarterback didn't even have all that great of a game.
Yep.
So Tennessee, oddly enough, might be flying under the radar somehow, and we might be on a collision course when Georgia and Tennessee meet, or Tennessee and Alabama meet near future.
I will say,
they jump like all the way to the 7th spot. I think that was really generous, though, against the unproven NC State team. I was like, whoa, 7th rank. I don't know if I'd really put them in there. I could see them remaining around 11, 12, but I was really shocked. I don't think they're flying under the radar for people. I think they're ready to hype the train.
Yeah.
The Tennessee fans here are raving about this quarterback. I don't know
if
it's Tennessee hype, but they're saying he's the best one they've had in a while. He's a dual threat, and if there's a year they can push through, this is the year. And just to kind of highlight the landscape, we had Alabama struggling into the fourth quarter. I mean, thought Alabama, they're dedicating the field to Saban, and Kalen DeBoer dodged a bullet, because you want to talk about starting off on the wrong foot. That would have been bad. Then you had LSU. They pulled away late, but still not looking good. And so you had some teams across the college football landscape that just weren't looking true to form. Dad, anything stick out to you?
Yeah, Colorado. What is going on there? That is a train wreck. And it doesn't seem like they have improved at all. They've got probably the 2 best players, 2 top 5 at least. And outside of that, they've got nothing. And so this was a big year for Deion. And I think we can all kind of see where this is going, at least this year. Yeah. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens, after this year's over.
He might,
and so
I
feel for his son. I think his son is a great player. And he's just going to get brutalized again this year. So that was just something to behold. That was a pure butt whipping. And Nebraska's a good team, but they're not a great team. Yeah. So I think they're going to struggle throughout this year. And then, I think Texas has been coming. Texas is now here. They have put everybody on notice.
Yep.
And so, you got Texas, you got Georgia, and, Ohio State hasn't proven itself, but everybody says that they're going to be great. So I think you got those 3 teams, and then everybody else is trying to catch them.
Yep.
Man, and if Colorado can't do it with Shador and the receiver, next year when they lose those two, it's only going to get worse out there in the cold. So,
Hey, the other one that's a shocker is Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
Notre Dame went
Yeah.
down.
Who saw that one coming?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, that actually helps Tennessee, in a lot of ways, especially with this expanded playoff system that's going to be going down. Like, you all of a sudden now have a pathway for Tennessee if they stay true to what their hype is, which I think that they might actually have that hype behind them. But that was a huge loss for Notre Dame. Huge loss.
Tough thing for Tennessee, though, they got to win the games they're supposed to win. That's always what gets them. They'll have one or two stub your toe games. John,
I hope they beat Florida.
Hey, let me say something right before John jumps on. I think it's important, though, for those teams that are flying high, like a Tennessee, that this year that some of these teams can actually make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And to be able to say, hey, look, we may not be Georgia and we may not be Ohio State or Texas, but we made the playoffs. So you've got a lot more teams that are going to be able to showcase, hey, we're a playoff contending team, and that's going to be a big for a lot of these universities.
Yep. John, any final thoughts on college? Take us out.
Yeah, I just want to toss in on that Notre Dame. It's time to select a conference. Like, stop.
Yeah, bro, for real.
This weird independent, pick my own people, do my own thing. Like, it's not serving you well as you had hoped it would serve you. And it's evidence that they drop games all the time. Like, they come out ranked, they're the best team, and you're like, it's not 1970. They're not. Yeah. And so you look at that, and then I was just watching through some of the playoff teams and the particular ones. I don't know. I think there's probably 3 or 4 clear front runners. I think as we move ahead, it's going to be interesting who fills slot number 8 through 12. I think it's really still a toss-up. I mean, Oklahoma State was picked by a lot of people. Looked like they kind of meandered through a game into overtime. Could have went down. And so I'm really curious about how it's going to go. The fact that Northern Illinois wins that game, gets ranked above some legitimate teams is concerning, because they beat Kent State the week before. So let's slow down a little bit. And honestly, got to wrap it up with here. Hugh Freeze, you should have stayed at Liberty. They loved you there. They loved you there. You had a championship. You had the pathway forward, and now you are likely going to get fired at the end of the season.
Appreciate your services, though. Liberty's 2-0. We pulled one out. The game ended at 1:45 a.m.
Wow, what a game!
And your boy got up and preached.
Yeah. Hey, on ESPN
for an hour.
That's Adam's
too, man.
That's Adam's most winning team he's got right now, so he's riding that one out.
I see that smile back on Adam's face. Look, I like that. I see that joy, Adam.
There's hope.
Oh man, that's
the Lord brings hope.
Liberty in Tennessee and Texas right now, baby.
Wow, bro.
Oh gosh. Well,
jeez.
That's going to wrap up our sports segment. We'll be bringing football updates and reactions to you each week to week, but now we're going to transition and move on to our ministry and leadership segment. Paul, take it away, sir.
Sure. Yeah, man. Great combo on NFL and college football. It was always fun to hear you guys talk about all that stuff for sure. And I did have a question for you guys just to kind of see. Adam, I'm going to toss it to you first just so you can answer it. But here's the question. How important is it for pastors to maintain a voice of truth behind the pulpit, and you being one that loves to be a heralder of the truth for sure, while avoiding the temptation of becoming a celebrity voice?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's really a question I think, if not being a celebrity preacher, I think all Christians wrestle with, is what I am doing for the Lord being done with pure motives, and am I seeking the approval of God or of man? Doesn't matter if you're standing behind a pulpit or washing tables in the kitchen at the church, that's something you have to think through. But in relation to preachers, I feel like I could speak to this because I grew up at a mega church. Prior to being called to ministry, all I knew was quote unquote celebrity pastors, or at least pastors that had thousands and thousands of people that would come hear them. And that's really all that I was exposed to also in my early training days of ministry, whether I was in college where you guys were at Brainerd. That's a large church. Yeah. And then going off and being mentored by a very well-known and respected pastor. That's all I knew. And then my very first pastorate was a church of 30 people. And it almost felt like God was playing this wild trick on me because the difference between those two settings to do ministry could not have been different. I almost felt like a foreign missionary at times in my early days in ministry in those churches. But here's kind of what I've learned by having those kind of two different extreme perspectives of ministry is that if you struggle with having a desire for a platform for yourself to promote yourself because you think you're smart and because you think you're going to do church a new, fresh, different way than it's ever been done, you don't need to be in the ministry. If there is anything in you that desires just so that people would see you, you would do whatever you need to do, don't be in the ministry.
Yeah.
That said, I do think there is always going to be a tension and a struggle with someone who is faithful to the truth to not want to seek the approval of man. And whether that means addressing culturally very hot topic issues from the Bible or making decisions as a leader in your church that may not be popular even amongst your congregation, that is a reality of ministry. It's something you're always going to wrestle with to varying degrees, depending on the circumstance, but it's something to be mindful of. And so here's kind of what I think that I've learned and am constantly learning is God just wants me to be faithful. And I don't control anything. I have no say in how many people get saved at our church. And I really try to do all that I can to not make our church feel that I'm leading them because of my position. My position grants me no authority. It is the Bible and the Bible alone that has authority in the life of the church. And so I think as long as that's how I'm trying to lead, I just want to be faithful when I'm preaching, and I want to be faithful in the way that I lead based upon what Scripture says a pastor is, primarily called to faithfulness, not popularity, not a big platform, not even a large church, as good as that can be, but rather to be faithful is what we must be.
Yeah. No, that's a good word, man, and helpful to have that reminder of the importance of what it means to know that faithfulness is going to be accounted for, and we all have opportunities to be able to be behind the pulpit in one way or another, or lead in some capacity in one way or another. And at the end of the day, like, we're going to be called to how we stewarded our responsibilities and how we were faithful to what the word does in fact say. But yeah, I mean, knowing that that's a way, like you mentioned, just remembering, hey, be faithful to what God has said you should do. John, how else can we guard our hearts when we have an opportunity, when you have people saying, hey man, Pastor John, that was a great message. You're so impactful. I'm so grateful for how you diligently prepare for all of this, which are all great. We're deeply appreciative. Nobody wants to leave, even though it's going to happen, right? Nobody wants to leave a service saying, man, I laid an egg. Like, that was just great. I had a great son. Nobody wants that. So how do you guard against the temptation of, being more than the voice you need to be, while at the same time living in the tension of, man, I got to be faithful to the truth and do well with it?
Yeah, I think in our culture, we're definitely prone to extremes. And I think that's evident when you see the tribalism that's kind of begin to emerge in different ways. And so I think we got to be careful about who our influences are, not only in content, but also in saturation, meaning, that may be good for you on one extreme side of that, say, preaching the word, like, hey, I'm just going to speak the truth. And if it hurts people, too bad. I got to say it. And on the other side, I'm going to just try to make people feel comfortable and good. And those are the extremes that pull us kind of back and forth. And so as we think through teaching through God's word, I think there's got to be not even a middling line. I think there's opportunities to think through both sides of those things and apply some knowledge and wisdom. So how do I tell people what the word of God says, but how do I also have pastoral sensitivity for those in the congregation that have a conscience that's easy to tip over, really, and cause to sin or struggle, and those that are impervious to anything except for the Holy Spirit coming and smacking them upside the head to make that happen. I think we got to be really careful pushing towards either pragmatism, what works, what generates a response, because that is kind of building into that voice and that celebrity culture, and also a rigid kind of, I'm 1600s, I'm just going to lay this out for 2 hours and whoever deals with it deals with it. I think it really comes down to some pastoral sensitivity about your people, which I think is bigger than your own performance or receptivity within the pulpit, because ultimately you want to be pleasing to the Lord, but you also want to be helpful to your people.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have to compromise those two things to handle the word well, but I think you definitely have to use it week to week. I know in our sermon prep time with our staff, there's feedback into what was helpful, what was unhelpful, was it clear, did it articulate what the Lord wanted? And without those guys in the room really giving feedback, I could find myself being pulled towards those extremes more often.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that's a good thing you mentioned, just that healthy accountability of having other people in there with you, in order for them to be able to keep you on task to what you mentioned, like, okay, am I truly being clear enough to be able to help people not go to the extremes? And then I think you're even touching on what Adam said, which is the whole motivation behind everything. Like, why are you behind the pulpit? What's the purpose behind you getting behind there and saying, "Thus saith the Lord"? Is it for you, or is it for some reason that you want to just bounce from one place to the other because you see this as an opportunistic moment for you, using the church in that way? Which those things, like Adam said, like, that's not helpful. Like, if you're not in it to shepherd people for the glory of God and to see them being fed well and led well, then just don't. It's probably not for you. It's just not a place where you should be at, and you better serve the church in that regard. So yeah, I mean, having a motivation to say I want to help is huge, and I think having people around you for accountability is very helpful. Going on that same thread, Joseph, is there anything that you would add that would be a help for all of us to be able to say, how can I guard myself from the temptation of wanting to do more than what I need to do from behind the pulpit, rather than just simply preaching the text?
Yeah.
And being faithful to the people that are there.
Yeah, kind of following what John said. I think each of us preachers have a different voice, our preaching voice, and so for me personally, I have to really watch my tone, because if you have a preacher who's a little bit more passionate or keyed up, we all have a quote or a point in our sermon where it's like, ooh, when they hear this, it's going to hit them upside the head. And I think sometimes when you're bringing out the truth, there's that tug of war of flesh and spirit, and it's real easy to be pulled more toward the flesh side of, I'm going to show them. And so I'm actually reading through the book preaching through or leadership and exposition, is the Pace and Shattuck's book, and they really talk about learning how to shepherd in the pulpit and learning how to care. And so going on that sensitivity thing, I'm finding, like, personally, I think Gen Z likes harder preaching. This whole notion of pragmatism, which a lot of people do and push. I think a lot of Christians and people just in general are so fed up with the empty calories of feel-good stuff, and there's so much gray that they want people to speak through that, which is good. I just think we as preachers and myself have to watch our tone. So, if we're, speaking on parents and sports and how it's taken over the power, I was preaching on that a few weeks ago. Hey, it's taking the power from the families. I've got to include myself instead of you. I'm trying to say, hey, this is something that this is me, practically, prioritizing other things over God's word at the dinner table. This is something that I'm walking through. And so just being graceful in that and just trying to shepherd and, trying to personalize with the people in the room. That's why it's so important to know your people. So for me, one of the ways I have to constantly guard that is tone. I can say the right thing with the wrong tone and it's received wrong. And so I have to ask myself, do I want to make a point or do I want to make a difference? And so that's just something for me that I try to guard.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's really helpful. I think that you hit on something that I'm constantly trying to have to write down in part of my sermon prep, which is the area of empathy, right? And prayer is the other one, because I'm trying to remember that I'm not immune to sin. I'm not immune to temptation. I'll get pulled in different directions myself because I'm human. I'm broken. That's part of it. And then I think it's helpful to kind of go back to your prayer list as a pastor, run through those names of those hopeful stories that you have on there of God working in people's lives, redeeming people, changing people, and watching God actually do something where you're watching those people. Those are the same people that are walking into the auditorium. Like, man, I remember that person. They walked in weeks ago, weren't known by somebody, but now they're in a group, and now they're here, and they came from a really hurtful place, and yet they found a means to risk to come into this building and actually want to be a part of church again, when they for a little while were even questioning the idea of wanting to be anywhere near a church. Like, those things like that keep reminding me that God's got a bigger purpose of what he's doing in the hearts and lives of people, that are as significantly important to him and what's happening in their lives, that have ripple effects all throughout the church, that who knows for what reason the Lord's bringing those people here in order for them to be able to be a part of that congregation. And so that side of empathy and understanding and prayer of who's in the room is a huge part to all of that. Because if not, then yeah, it's just what I think Shaddix mentioned at one point when we were walking through different texts. Like, hey, it's great to get all this stuff right. Great when people tell you, hey, good job, Pastor. But just remember, like, without the text, you wouldn't have any of that. Like, it's a good text and a good word because you have the text to preach the good word. But if not, you wouldn't have anything. So we're literally standing on what we're preaching on each and every week. And without it, we wouldn't have a voice. But God's given us one because he's written it in his word. So I'm deeply grateful for even Shaddix's, influence on my heart and life, as well as all of you guys, when it comes to preaching. So that's
Paul,
good, guys.
Paul, can I add something real quick? One thing.
Yeah, man, go by all means.
In the tribes that John was talking about, there's some people that are, obviously we all support the position of expository preaching. But I think as long as a part of being faithful to the text is when you find something that is culturally relevant or a truth that is lifted out of the text that can apply to everyday living and speak to things. That's my favorite thing about exposition. You don't have to do hot topics because the topics just come up.
Right. Yeah.
But sometimes people will use the phrase "so faithful to the text," but they don't tie in any cultural relevancy. I'm not saying you got to make the whole thing over application, but I love you naturally walking through a text and then an issue arises that kind of ties hand in hand. And so I think that's a way of stepping on the shoulders of that truth and then pushing it to our context and making it relevant, but also being faithful to the exposition. And that's some of the guys. It's like, if it's not word for word, they feel like they can't say it, but it's like, no, man, it's the principle and the heart behind the text. That's the part of being faithful to it, I would say.
Yeah. Wholeheartedly. That's good. Yeah. Great answers, guys. Thankful for you guys fleshing that out. That's what I had on my mind. Joseph,
Yep.
I don't know if you had anything else on your mind, but I'm
That's
good.
it.
Y'all are good.
That's it. Good convo. We'll be back next week. Everybody have a great week, and we'll watch some more football. See y'all later.
Go Canes.